I used to think leadership meant having all the answers. Then I became executive director of an organization full of people who once survived the very same systems that I did. And that changed everything for me because I had to shift my mind about what leadership was. I thought leadership meant constantly walking in confidence, staying composed under pressure, making the call. Hopefully it's the right call. And you protect your team, you protect the camp from anything, especially uncertainty. Even if that meant pretending that I did not have any uncertainty performing. But that mindset made sense for me in that season, in that time, because I was trained in my life to just survive. I was still in survival mode plus healing centered leadership. And those two didn't really mix, right? I'm coming from a mentality of like, I got to stay sharp. You got to be the sharpest in the room, trying to fight imposter syndrome, try to anticipate what's coming so you can never get caught slipping. And those are the moments that I had to realize that a shift needed to happen culturally and in my mind. But here's how the problem showed up. Because once you're ED, you're not just surviving a system anymore. You design it, you manage it, you set the tone, like you're setting a pace and you're also setting a culture. And you're trying to do that while navigating yourself. People talk about work-life balance. Is there really a balance if you work in so many hours? But that's why I want to prioritize, like making sure that there's a culture that people actually want to be a part of. And if you bring survival mode of a survival mindset into that organization, it could look like production on the surface, but underneath, people don't feel safe. And you probably won't feel safe and you'll burn out. So I had to unlearn. I had to unlearn a lot, right? The idea of being respected means being untouchable. When I was in the inaugural program, we were formerly co-cooperative. My job was to absorb that wisdom. My job was to stay ready. My job was to ask questions. My job was to execute. And the safest way for me to look ready was also pretend like I didn't need anything. I didn't want to raise my hand and ask a dumb question. I don't know if you've ever experienced that in school and show up like nothing bothers you. You don't carry no emotional weight, but that's not real leadership. Leadership also is transparency and leadership in a room of people that have overcome a lot and survived trauma. It requires a different focus and lens. It does not require performance. It requires proximity. It requires authenticity. It requires consistency. And that's a formula that I've seen work with leaders in an ecosystem that I also love. This pathway of healing centered leadership does not remove standards. It sets a new one. It changes what your standards are actually built on as an organization. I encourage us all to do a values alignment session because like it'll be super helpful for you and your team to understand what do we actually stand on. Everybody stand on business. Well, what is it? What is the business you stand on? Is it something that we feel or is it some values that we all can stand on and point to? Just something to think about. So today I'm going to share 3 things that I had to unlearn. Using urgency as a leadership tool. No, 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 no. Sometimes urgency could feel like competence. It could feel like movement. It could feel like, hey, we on one accord, we're locked in. But what's really happening is you're actually asking people to carry instability. That's something I'm super mindful of. Shout out to Teen, right? We try to plan things out and make it a realistic timeline on what she needs to be successful and deliver so that it doesn't drain her capacity. It's something that we practice internally because when capacity starts to drain, in my experience, the only thing that remains is a performance. You're going to lose that authenticity. And when people start hiding, you're missing valuable feedback. They're going to just start pushing through and that passive aggressive energy. Like, we don't need to deal with that. Let's figure out what the root cause is and unsurface that together. So even when a culture looks fine, if it's a weak culture, it can quietly start breaking. Number 2, the hero role. This one was big for me. You know, when you survive certain things and you overcome things and your heart is big, you want to make sure that you're showing up and stepping up for the community and you take pride in handling things, even taking a hit, staying late or taking a loss. We call it holding an L, but you're the one that got to hold it all together. Man, what I've learned, man, leadership can be a lonely journey because who saves the hero? Who's going to come and save the hero? And heroic leadership can make a weak organization, honestly, because if the system is relying on one person to be the glue and hold anything together, then does your team have the autonomy to even be successful to solve the problem? Healing centered leadership isn't about being the strongest person in the room. It's about building infrastructure and systems that doesn't break because it requires one person to sustain it. Number 3, setbacks mean someone isn't ready. I told you once and I'll tell you again, a setback is a setup for a comeback. So if we're looking at people's missed sessions, they having a bad week, and we're saying they're uncoachable or they're not serious about this, why don't we ever acknowledge the humanity that people face? People are fighting for basic needs right now. Groceries are high. Times are hard. People are stressed. So some inconsistencies in them showing up in your programming, that sounds like a design flaw too. It sounds like we need to build systems around the challenges and the setbacks that they're actually facing, because those are the things stopping them from being successful and seeing the transformation that they really want in their own lives and that we want for them. That's why I like servant leadership. It ain't a gimmick. It ain't a slogan. Healing Center Leadership is not a slogan. It really is finding joy in seeing other people win, man. And someone held me accountable recently. Shout out to Jenny for not sharing my story, for not sharing the fact that I am also proud of myself, from pulling myself out of the depths of hell to becoming this ED over the last 6 years and watch 252 graduates go on and succeed. No matter their circumstances or no matter where they were, there was a culture here that invited people to heal, to grow, to be challenged. So like being an ED in a healing center org told me that my job wasn't just to be the most impressive person in the room. I should never be the smartest one in the room, but I am for sure not going to be the one in that room acting like I don't belong there. And we don't perform in them either. So if this resonates with you on your leadership journey, if you've experienced something like this, or if you know of leaders in the network that experience something like this, I want to hear from you. Please go to my YouTube channel, Build to Heal AR, and just leave a comment about servant leadership and how it affects your journey, or working within a healing center org. It requires infrastructure because it requires space. It requires acknowledgement of humanity, but we want to hear from you. Make sure you like, subscribe, and also share the channel within your network. Visit emergentworks.org and cryptoharlem.com to learn more about the work that we are doing in the communities to transform the lives and the relationships of those that we serve. So thank you for tuning in today, and I'll see you on the next video.